It's your girl T, and I want to go ahead and shout out Sanika of Montgomery. Sanika sent me this story, and it's coming out of our first favorite state, Ratchet Florida. So what's going on now in Florida, you ask? What's going on now is that we have a Florida teacher who has been fired from her job, and it's causing a lot of controversy on the internet. So what happened is that you have this Florida teacher. Her name is Dru Dehart. Her and one of her students, he's a 13-year-old. His name is Radravious Williams. And Radravious was basically being, stubborn. He was being insubordinate. And he was talking back to her. And he basically told her that he wished that he could cuss out all his teachers. And he was going off on her. So instead of her being an adult, she goes to her 8th grade classroom and tells 6 of her 8th graders to go out there in the hallway and teach Radravious a lesson. So these boys end up jumping him in the hallway. This story is just insane. I'm going to go ahead and play you guys a news clip right now, and then I will come back with the rest of my comments.
We're hearing from the parents and the attorney of the Treasure Coast boy who police say was beaten up by 6 other students.
Kathleen O'Toole's live outside the lawyer's office in West Palm Beach with the disturbing details just released about that case. Kathleen?
Right, we are only hearing the student side of the story from his attorney's office here on the 15th floor in downtown West Palm Beach. But he does admit he told the teacher he wishes someday that he could curse all teachers out. Family says what happened next was over the top.
Play sports, hang out with friends.
13-year-old Radravious Williams sits nervously as his mother and lawyer recount what happened to him at Northport K-8 in Port St. Lucie.
Held him down, they kicked him, they stomped him, they beat him. And as he was trying to get away, they just basically continued to just torture him.
Deputies arrested 6 boys for the March 20th attack, but what's really hit hard for the family is that the 7th grader says a teacher egged on the assault.
Holding him by the neck, took him down to her classroom, and forcefully made him apologize to her. And her remarks was, I got my 8th grade boys on you, you're not so tough now.
So certainly this is no schoolyard brawl. This is a teacher ordering violence.
And one of them comes around the neighborhood and shoot hoops.
Williams, who considered a couple of the boys friends, has not returned to the school but will transfer. His mom hopes this experience is never duplicated for anyone.
It's like a nightmare. I'm a working mom, and I send my kids, when I leave in the morning, I send my kids to school. The last thing I want to hear or come home to is that my child has been beaten, but not only beaten, but by the direction of a staff employee. That's just, it's unbelievable.
School district confirming they've reassigned the teacher while deputies investigate. I asked Radravious what subject he had this teacher in. He answered critical thinking. His lawyer and his mother had not yet heard that. They had a few snickers over that one. We're live tonight.
Right now, reaction tonight after a local teacher is fired. Dru Dehart is accused of putting one of her students in harm's way by having other students beat up the 7th grader. You can see him lying on the ground right here in this video.
He was badly beaten by older and bigger students at the school, and the attack was caught on tape. CBS 12's Peter Schaller is live. He spoke exclusively with the victim's parents about tonight's decision. Peter?
No celebration tonight in Port St. Lucie over the school board's unanimous decision to fire this teacher over her involvement in the attack that happened inside the school. All of it was caught on tape, but the victim's parents, they feel vindicated.
It's been rough. And, we as a family, we're dealing with it.
It's the beating caught on tape that has now cost a veteran teacher, Dru Dehart, her job. Older and bigger 8th grade students attacked a 7th grader here in the hallways at Northport K-8 school in Port St. Lucie back in March of last year. Dehart is accused of instigating the beating because the victim reportedly threatened her in class right before the video was captured. Reports say this clip shows Dehart motioning to the older boys to go after the victim. The victim's parents spoke exclusively with CBS 12 tonight about Dehart's firing.
Through the entire situation, and even when I got the news, it's no congratulations on either side because she's suffering and my son is still suffering.
Latasha says her son still has trust issues with adults, and so far, Dehart hasn't apologized.
As a person, as any parent, you want some kind of apology, but I guess we'll get that whenever she's ready.
An attorney for Dehart says she wants to teach again, just not in St. Lucie County. An attorney for the victim says they're filing a federal civil rights lawsuit in the near future. Live in Port St. Lucie, Peter Schaller, CBS 12 News.
You guys just watched the news clip, and of course this is causing a lot of controversy. And now you guys remember that video I did a while back about the teacher who had punched the 12-year-old, and basically he knocked him out, sent him flying across the hallway, and the 12-year-old claimed that the only thing he did was just make fun of the teacher's sports team, and the teacher snapped. Okay, so with that being said, this is why I say that as parents, we need to make sure that we are teaching our kids and we are making sure that our kids respect adults. I'm not saying that what this woman did was right, because at the end of the day, she's an adult. She had no business encouraging other kids to go fight another kid. All these kids have been arrested, and now they're all looking at criminal charges because of this teacher. So this teacher takes the full brunt of the blame. But what I will say is this: while Radravious' mom is crying on the news and boo-hooing and everything else, I hope she also talks to her son about having respect for other people, because this is just not normal behavior for a 13-year-old. He should not be wanting to cuss out his teachers, go off on his teachers and anything else. You know what I'm saying? Typical behavior for a 13-year-old, yeah, they might have an attitude. You know, they might kind of get flippant and things like that. They may not turn in their homework. That's normal stuff. But he shouldn't be going off on his teachers. And I think a lot of these kids need to realize that you know, you have to have respect for other people, because you never know what the consequences may be. Sometimes when you don't teach your children lessons and how to behave and how to act accordingly in life, sometimes other folks can teach them. And this woman thought that she was teaching this young boy a lesson, but she ended up getting egg on her face. That's not how you teach him a lesson. She should have went to the principal. She should have went and asked for him to be suspended. She, you know, put him in detention, something like that. But you don't have other kids go beat him up. So I think she was all the way out of pocket right there. But as a mother, I'm not going to ignore the fact that the boy admitted to talking back to her, going off on her, and being disrespectful to her. So I just hope that as a mother, she talks to her son about his behavior as well, because that's not okay. It's not okay for students to disrespect teachers, and it's definitely not okay for teachers to behave in this manner. And I just also hope that this teaches those kids not to be a sheeple. Just because your teacher says to go do something doesn't mean that you should just jump up and do it. These 6 kids didn't think twice. They didn't question it. As soon as she told them to go beat up the kid, they all got up out their seats and then ran over there to go beat him up. I mean, that whole situation makes no sense, that they didn't even think twice about not doing something like that just because the teacher said so. You know, but I bet you if the teacher said turn in your homework on time, half of them would struggle to get their homework in. But the teacher says go beat up this kid, they don't think twice about doing it. I mean, these kids nowadays just don't make no sense to me. So I see a few people at fault in this story. Definitely the teacher. She's the #1 at fault to me, hands down. Because that's not how you behave as a professional. That's not how you behave as an adult. But with that being said, I can't just watch this story and act like the little boy's just so innocent either. He has no business talking to any adult that way. And then those kids who jumped him, they were also in the wrong for not thinking for themselves and allowing their teacher to manipulate them. So overall, the story is just sad. You know, like the mother said, nobody really wins in this story. She's lost her job. Now her son, you know, is having a hard time trusting adults and whatever else. So the whole story is just ridiculous to me. And this is why we need to get it together as adults and as children. We need to start raising our kids better, and children also need to have respect for adults. It's a two-way street. So anyways, go ahead, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire story. Do you feel like the teacher was solely to blame for this entire situation? Or do you feel like, you know, the student was also disrespectful and that's what caused it? And then how do you feel about the other students just being sheeps and not thinking twice about fighting this boy based on what the teacher told them to do? So let me know your thoughts on this entire ratchet ass situation that's coming out of our favorite state, Ratchet ass Florida. All right, deuces.